January 28th of 2018, a little more than 2 years ago, that the defendant, sitting right there in the middle between Mr. Thomas and Miss Dixon, raped, kidnapped, and murdered Rachael Anderson. January 28th was her birthday. She was 24 years old on the day she was murdered by this man.
On January 29th, 2018, 24-year-old Rachael Anderson, an aspiring funeral director, did not show up for work. Her co-workers were instantly concerned because this is not typical of her. Rachael's co-workers arrive at her townhouse and want to be let in, insisting that something is dreadfully wrong, prompting the property manager to intervene. When the manager is unable to enter the premises without 24-hour notice, he contacts Sean Griggs, the other person on Rachael's lease. Sean Griggs notifies the manager that he no longer lives there, but because he is still on the lease, he's able to grant the property management the necessary authority to access Rachael's townhome. When the cops arrive, everything appears normal save for a lit candle, which the manager blows out before locking the unit and returning to her office to inform Sean Griggs that Rachael is not present. He asks if she thoroughly searched everything, even the closets, which she did not. More people in Rachael's life have expressed concern for her. John Kennedy, another friend with whom she had been hanging out prior to her abduction, has arrived at Cardinal Creek Townhomes to seek for her. When the property manager comes to Rachael's house to make another pass, John Kennedy joins her.
Immediately when the front door was opened and I was allowed in, the first thing I saw that was her birthday cake was sitting on her little kitchen table. So as you enter the property, there's a hallway that goes straight through to the kitchen. And the cake was sitting there, not put away, and Rachael's a very organized person that would have put that away the first chance that she got. I had checked the downstairs and gone through the kitchen into the laundry room. I had turned back around. There was a closet next to the staircase that I checked, and as I started going up the staircase, there was, some pictures knocked to the side, and her Marilyn Monroe picture was gone, which I thought was a little strange. It was not even there, and I don't know what made me realize that, but that was gone. I proceeded to go up the staircase, and I didn't even go into her room yet. I went right to the bathroom, and the only reason that I did that is because every morning Rachael gets ready for work. So I went into the bathroom, opened the door, felt the towel to see if it was wet, to see if she had left or something. I went into the spare room that we were helping her get together, and nothing seemed out of place. From there, I turned around and walked towards her room, looked around. It was quite out of place, considering how it normally is. And then I noticed that there's a closet door there, which I never had noticed because it's normally open and flushed with the headboard. And I went to pull the door handle, and it felt like something was pulling it back, and I pulled it, and there was something tied around the door handle, so I pulled it out, and here came Rachael. She was tied up in the closet.
It's a scream no one wants to hear, and a spectacle no one wants to watch. Both indicate that something is seriously wrong. They locate Rachael's lifeless body in her bedroom closet, chained and hidden.
I lost my... I screamed and pleaded that she was okay. I tried to see if I could help her. I was screaming for her. But any direction that I pulled her, it just seemed like I was choking her. So I started screaming and I ran out. I completely lost my mind. I was trying to get him to go back in there. I wasn't fully aware if it was on the outside of the door, but when I grabbed the handle and pulled it, it was clearly wrapped around the inside of the door. That's a for sure yes.
When Rachael's body is discovered, her apartment is instantly turned into a crime scene and investigated for evidence. Her body bears awful signs of what had happened. She was chained at the wrists and ankles and bruises indicated that she had been alive while restrained. Her head was wrapped in a cloth, and a twisted black material was shoved inside her mouth. An electric blanket cord was wrapped around her neck, strangling her. The autopsy found a worse horror. A 9-inch stab wound into the back of her neck, which penetrated her brain with such power that it broke her skull. The savagery did not stop there. Rachael experienced hemorrhages in her muscles and eyelids, as well as extreme pressure in her eyes. The DNA found on her body and in her apartment all led to a registered sex offender with a history of violent crimes. Anthony Pardon's name sends chills down investigators' necks. His DNA was discovered on many places of Rachael's body, at the crime scene, and within her, indicating sexual assault. Anthony Pardon's criminal record is a terrifying reminder of a system that permitted a dangerous guy to travel freely. According to court documents, he was also convicted as a juvenile for raping a 9-month-old boy. Anthony Pardon, then 16, was convicted in 1982 of attempted murder and rape of a high school classmate's 39-year-old mother. He spent nearly 25 years in an Ohio jail for it. Jurors in the Rachael Anderson case were aware of the situation, but were barred from hearing specifics. When Anthony Pardon was released from jail and transferred to Georgia, he was later convicted of forgery and failure to register as a sex offender. He served another 9 years in a Georgia jail before returning to Ohio in the spring of 2017. Returned to January 28, 2018, Rachael's 24th birthday. It was meant to be a day full of cake and fun. She spent the weekend celebrating with friends and family, including her brother, John Anderson.
We got an Uber to a club. I don't know where the club was at or the name of it, but we went somewhere downtown, and then we were there for maybe an hour to 2, and then we actually came back to John and Tina's apartment, where I fell asleep. I believe it was Tina, myself, and one other guy. I believe it was one of Ryan's friends or John's friends that came with us. It was a dance club, it did have dancing. I can't really specifically clarify what club it was, but yes. I woke up a little later than her. She was up first, and then basically they were just talking when I first had contact with them. And we just hung out for a little bit. They spoke with each other, and then we left. John, Tina, and yeah, I believe that's all who was up at that time, was John and Tina. I do not recall anybody else being there. No, I did not. Enough time to pack up everything, so maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes I was there, and then we parted ways. I was headed back to my girlfriend's house.
Phone records revealed that Anthony Pardon was at Rachael's apartment between 7:59 p.m. to 9:25 p.m. on January 28th. Surveillance footage caught him driving her car after the murder and even using Rachael's debit and credit cards. A man named Anthony Sleets, who was also shown in the tape using her card, said that it was supplied to him by a man who matched Anthony Pardon's description. However, Anthony Sleets died before he could testify.
The man you later identified as Anthony Pardon appeared to have a bag in his hand.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we mentioned that there is another camera, so let's take a look at that. It's labeled as camera 3. As it starts to play, what area of the store is this?
The checkout, and this will be the back of the store.
The back of the store?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to fast forward to around the 43-minute mark. 42:48 is where we're starting it. As the people that became of interest to you in the investigation enter the frame again, if you could point them out to the jury, kind of narrate what's happening.
I believe that would be them right there.
You keep dropping your voice, sorry.
I'm sorry, that would be them right there.
Okay.
And that would be them approaching the checkout.
Was there anything that either one of them was wearing that became of note to you later in the investigation, or things that you might have been looking for later on as you had people search?
Obviously, I would be looking for the jacket, the hat, and the same clothing, the hat and scarf and jacket for her.
All right, so we're at about 44:48.
Okay.
Do we see the male?
He was back in the store here, and Deborah is at the checkout.
Okay. What does he appear to be doing right now?
He's concealing his face. And he's checking out the cash register.
Does that object still appear to be on his face?
Yes.
And does this continue, does it take them several minutes to check out?
Yeah, it takes a few minutes.
Okay. And again, did this correspond with a charge on Rachael Anderson's debit card?
Yes, it does.
The proof was plain, and Anthony's pardon left an unmistakable trail of devastation. What began as a regular welfare check turned into a heartbreaking tale of unspeakable cruelty, exposing the extent of Anthony Pardon's depravity and ensuring Rachael's justice. On February 9th, 2018, Anthony Pardon's freedom came to an unexpected end when SWAT officers descended on Columbus's Leiden area, closing in on him. He is arrested, signaling the start of a contentious court battle. He's being kept in jail on an incredible $5 million bond, a clear indicator of the gravity of his offenses. Less than a week later, on February 15th, a Franklin County grand jury returned a frightening indictment. Anthony Pardon faced 9 accusations, including aggravated burglary, aggravated robbery, kidnapping, rape, and aggravated homicide. The indictment includes death penalty provisions as well as classifications for being a serial violent offender, sexually violent predator, and repeat attempted murderer. On February 20th, Anthony Pardon appeared in court and pled not guilty, preparing for a high-stakes trial. 2 years later, on February 4th, 2020, the trial finally begins. In a stunning and hazardous move, Anthony Pardon reveals that he would represent himself, setting the stage for a courtroom spectacle.
You've heard from a lot of people, family members, the DA, Mr. Dixon, and Mr. Thomas. So now I'd like to give you a chance to hear from me. I really wish we could be, I really wish this was different. And we was meeting under different circumstances. But I want you to understand this. My mother took the witness stand. She gave testimony. And I want you to understand that she wasn't the best mother. I want everybody to understand that she was not the best mother. But she did what she had to do. My sister, my brothers, they wasn't the best. But we did what we had to do. A lot of things you didn't hear, and a lot of things you probably won't hear about me or my family. But I want you to know this. Eric Pardon was my dad. I love my dad, but I hated my dad. 2 people made me who I am today, and I blame that on my dad and the system. I was raised by the system, and I was raised by an abusive father. I used to witness my beat my mother like a dog. And my mother told you she pulled a gun on me one time, and she did. But I always wondered why she never pulled that gun on him and pulled the trigger. Because if anybody ever beat me like that, I would have did it. They say, my sister said my mother left us. She did. She left us too late. I would have been gone. I would have told my mother I would have been gone. Every day I came home, my father found some reason to beat me, my brothers, not my sister, but my mother, my brothers. And it just seemed like it got worse and worse and worse. My father beat me so bad one time that the lady next door threatened him to call the police to make him stop. He beat me with a fan belt. Another time he beat me with a pool stick so bad I got the scars on my back. A piece of the pool stick lodged in my back. And because my grandmother and them was so scared of my father, When we got to the hospital, they told everybody that I fell on a stick, and that's how it happened. But every day, it seemed like it just got worse and worse and worse. It just got worse to the point where me and my sister just ran away. We didn't know where we was going. We just ran away.
The jury finds Anthony Pardon guilty of all 9 counts. During the sentencing phase, Anthony Pardon's defense team provides mitigating evidence regarding his difficult childhood and adulthood, which was primarily spent behind bars. They need to persuade at least one of the 12 jurors that he should not be condemned to death, and if they succeed, it is enough to prevent the court from imposing the capital penalty. Judge McIntosh ultimately sentenced him to 1 life sentence without parole for heinous murder and another for rape.
All rise for the jury.
The courtroom was silent as Rachael Anderson's parents took the stand to deliver their victim impact statements. After a lengthy and agonizing trial, Anthony Pardon sat impassive in front of the court, but the weight of their words was clear. Rachel's father told the man who ruined his family, "You are an animal who pursued and preyed on our beautiful daughter." He remarked, meeting eyes with Anthony Pardon, that Rachael Anderson was a shining light in the lives of everyone who knew her. Her life was sadly cut short, but her memory lives on.